What's going on, fam? Welcome back to the channel. This is the Mizuno Alpha, and this is the 1 month review of the Mizuno Alpha. Now, the Mizuno Alpha is a boot that I got really excited about because it replaced the Rebula Cup, which is a boot that I really enjoyed wearing. I actually wore it right at the beginning of coming back from my foot injury now 2+ years ago. And the shape of this boot, the fact that it was a synthetic but a little bit wider boot, made me so excited. That being said, there's a huge asterisk that we'll get to at the end of this video that's a little bit of a bummer, unfortunately, but given the rating of this boot through my testing and stuff, you guys will understand why this is one of the best picks on the market, in my opinion, as far as speed boots go. So first of all, let's talk about the sole plate. Now, some people said, okay, this is kind of lazy because it's the same stud pattern as the Morelia Neo 3 betas, except they just made them triangle studs instead of rounded studs, I guess, or conical studs. And I would say that, yeah, fair enough, that's true. And also, this actually changes the dynamic of the sole plate completely because of the traction it gives you. And it's a lot more aggressive than what the Morelia Neo 3 betas feel like, especially here in this forefoot area with this little like double triangle stud or diamond looking stud here in the middle area. There you go. And for me, the addition of the Carvo insert, which we saw as well on the Adler Yatagarasu, really changes the dynamic of this boot. It's super, super responsive. It is a bit flat, so if you notice, there's really not a lot of curvature like there might be in, say, an Asics boot or a Speed Portal. I know I've kind of mentioned those two as like the top dogs as far as curvature of the sole plate to make you like step up on your toes. If you're somebody that wants that, that's fantastic. For me, it doesn't really matter that much. I actually really love the Speed Portal sole plate. I love the Adler Yatagarasu sole plate. I love this sole plate. So for me, it doesn't really matter that much for me. For you, it may be different, but this sole plate is fantastic. Lots of snapback. The external heel counter here gives quite a bit of flexibility. We'll talk about the heel in just a second, but quite a bit of flexibility and comfort in the heel area, but doesn't sacrifice in that lateral lockdown, so to speak, which is, I guess, part of that sole plate experience. Super responsive, really nice. For me, this isn't so aggressive that I wouldn't recommend playing on artificial ground. You can play on AG with this stud pattern, and I think would have no problems at all. And then obviously this is great for FG as well. No issues there. So for me, this is an 8.5 out of 10 sole plate. Fantastic, fantastic sole plate in my opinion. Now let's talk about the heel area. Now the heel area, which I mentioned before, has quite a lot of flexibility because of that external heel counter here with the kind of this bronze. First of all, okay. Also colorway, oh, unbelievable. 10 out of 10 for me. 10 out of 10, right? I don't give 10s, and this is a 10. I love this colorway. So heel area. The other thing that I mentioned in my initial review, which I think is the unspoken, what's the word I'm looking for? It's the unspoken hero. That's what I'm looking for. The unspoken hero of this boot is the amount of zero glide material on the entirety of the heel and the insole, and then on the bottom of this tongue area. Now, this zero glide material, which you can see is kind of this gray, is absolutely fantastic because what it does is, as soon as, yes, it is a little bit difficult to get on your feet, but once you get it on your feet, it is so sticky as far as preventing heel blisters, preventing, any sort of slippage as you pivot this direction. It does a fantastic job of locking you in. And in my opinion, the Mizuno heels, i.e. the heel areas in all of the Mizuno boots, are exceptional for that reason. Not all of them have the zero glide technology, but all the heels tend to fit me as somebody with a thinner heel and a wider midfoot and forefoot area. They fit my heel super, super well. So for me, this is a 9 out of 10 heel area. It's fantastic. It fits me really well. Zero issues with break-in time or blisters or anything like that. And I would recommend it for most people. All right, so the upper. So this upper is absolutely fantastic. I really, really, really like this upper. I think it is so soft out of the box, and not soft in the leather type soft, but as far as a synthetic boot goes, this is really pliable and really gives you a little bit of adjustability as far as the fit and feel of it as well. You've got those little kind of padding on the inside as almost like a cage, and then you've got the suede liner on the inside. As you can see, this white material here is a suede liner throughout the entire upper, so it's super thin, but it also doesn't feel like you're at any little touch of the ball or somebody's cleat is going to absolutely destroy you. I always say, be prepared to get stepped on in football. Don't worry about how much protection you're going to get, because that really doesn't matter if you're playing at a high level, whether that be youth level, whether that be, if you're playing competitive football, not just a kick around, you're going to be fine. So don't worry about it. But this upper is exceptional. The really deep lacing system that goes almost down to where the knuckles of my toes are, and it gives you a ton of width as far as the amount of stretch you're able to get all the way down to that area, for me is really, really awesome. The other thing that you notice about this boot is how low this ankle cut is. So a mid-cut boot would probably come up to here, and a normal cut boot probably goes about to there, right? So it's going to be raised about a half an inch. If you're somebody who really likes basically the boot disappearing on your foot, these are the way to go as far as the kind of the cut and finish of this upper. It's very low profile, it's very sleek, really gives you a one-to-one sensation on the ball. And for me, this is a 9 out of 10 upper, one of the best on the market in my opinion, and definitely one of the best in a speed boot category. Lockdown is another thing that I really enjoy talking about, because I think it is pretty important for high level play, regardless of where you are. And it really allows you to grip into whatever surface you're playing on and trust that the boot's gonna hold your foot there while you try to push off or do any sort of movement. Now, the synthetic material of this upper, the Zero Glide tech all throughout, and the aggressiveness of this sole plate creates, in my opinion, one of the most locked in sensations I've ever felt on a football boot. And I mean that genuinely. For me, this is a step above the Vapor as far as lockdown. And again, your foot might be thinner than mine, so you might not get the same amount of lockdown. But for me, the lockdown in this boot is banana. Like, it really is crazy. It genuinely is out of this world for me. That's just the way that my foot fits in this football boot. And I would say for me, we're just gonna leave it at that. It is a 9 out of 10 for lockdown, top marks for this Mizuno product. Next, we're gonna talk about break-in time. We've talked about lockdown, we've talked about the upper. Now, this is where the story of the Mizuno Alpha gets a little sad for me. The break-in time is a 3 out of 10. This, and again, keep in mind, I have a really thin heel, a really wide midfoot, and a really wide toe box area. So for me, this took forever to break in. In fact, I have worn these, they're scuff marks, I've beaten the heck out of these, and I still don't feel perfectly comfortable in this boot. And for me, that's why they get a 3 out of 10. They're just a little bit, I don't think, as wide as I need them to be for what I want in a football boot that I'm gonna wear for the long term. 3 out of 10 for break-in time, unfortunately for me. They are a bit stiff in this upper area. For my foot, I know people who fit in these and absolutely adore them. They're the best boots people have ever tried on. And for me, actually, because of that, and because of how much I love this shoe, for me, this is probably the #1 boot that I can't fit in very well. Like, if there was one boot on the market, I wish if I could just fit in one pair of boots on the market and never have another pair of football boots in my life, I would probably choose these over the Vapor, over the Speed Portal, over all those, because I just think this product is incredible for a lot of reasons, but that's, again, it's a personal preference. So unfortunately, 3 out of 10 for break-in time. Now let's move into durability and build quality. So as you can see, scuff marks aside, there are literally 0 issues with separation on this upper. Everything has been absolutely perfect. None of the materials have frayed. The laces have stayed perfectly fine, in my opinion. There's been no weird scuff marks or things like falling out of place, stitching coming undone, etc. The only thing I would say as far as build quality, well, honestly, I'm just going to give this top marks for build quality, because I can't think of a reason to mark it down at all. So for me, Mizuno build quality, you guys know, just in general, is usually very, 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 very good. So for me, these are a 9 out of 10 as far as durability and build quality goes. Fantastic work, Mizuno. Okay, so shape and fit. As I mentioned before, really difficult for me to break these in, but you guys know my foot shape. So for me, this is a 6 out of 10 as far as shape for my foot. That being said, the shape of this boot is actually a little bit wider than a lot of the other speed boots on the market, and it's gonna accommodate most foot types simply because of this lacing system and the way that this upper can kind of give you the room you need to get into this football boot. I think if you have thin, super thin feet, you'll fit in these brilliantly. If you have anything up to about a medium to wide foot shape, I think most people are gonna fit in these. And that, for me, is why these aren't gonna get low marks like the break-in time, but I do think for me these are a 6 out of 10 as far as shape, just because they're not gonna fit the most wide foot types, and they're not gonna fit people like me who have kind of an oddly shaped foot. But for the most part, they're gonna fit most foot shapes, and they're a really nice, very similar shape to that Rebula Cup, just not leather, so it's not gonna stretch in sort of the weirder areas where some people might have those differences in foot shape, I guess. So 6 out of 10 for shape and fit. Okay, so let's talk about the competition of this boot. So the competition of this boot includes the Nike Vapor 15 Elite, the New Balance Furon version 7 or V7. You've got the Speed Portal Plus and 0.1 from Adidas. You've got any of the F50 remakes from Adidas. I know those are kind of special edition, but they're still speed boots on the market. And then I recently just filmed a review of the Umbro Velocita, which is kind of their speed boot on the market. And those are a really interesting pair of football boots as well. For me and what I would choose, the only boot on that list that I actually fit in is the New Balance. So for me, the New Balance is the top of the list, just because I can actually wear it in a training session. But if I were to rate objectively which one I want to wear the most, it's this boot. This is, again, as I said before, the #1 boot I would wear if I could fit in boots that I don't fit in. Hope that makes sense. These would top my list, but these are #2 for me on the list of boots that I prefer in the speed boot category. The Speed Portal Plus, it fits my foot really well, actually. I like that boot a lot. I think it's fun to wear. Laceless speed boot, it's great, but it does have its kind of downsides as well, given that it's laceless and there's not as much lockdown, and it's a little bit of a chunky forefoot area that it's a little bit bulbous, but regardless, the Mizuno Alpha is the #2 spot for me. So this, as far as its competition goes, that's kind of where it fits on that list. All right, last two categories. So for objective performance of this boot, straight up, it's a 9 out of 10. This is a fantastic performing football boot. If you are on the market for one of the best quality, best fit, most comfortable, most responsive speed boots on the market, the Mizuno Alpha is the way to go. I know it's expensive. I know it's almost like $320 US, so the price is quite a lot. But what you're doing is you're investing in a product that you are going to enjoy for a long time because of the durability and the build quality of this football boot. I think you will have no issues, and I really strongly recommend this boot. So 9 out of 10 for me for performance, absolutely top marks. All right, so overall rating of the Mizuno Alpha, as I said, it is very sad for me, and I genuinely get bummed out because I wish I fit in this. This is probably the boot that I would wear 100% of the time if I fit in it perfectly. I just don't, and it's taken me forever to try and break it in. It's taken me almost 2 months to try and break it in, and that's just because I'm trying to force something that it just can't happen. My feet are too wide to fit in these for the most part. And I'm gonna try the hot water trick. I'll try to give you guys updates as I continue with this process of breaking in these boots. But as far as my testing goes, and again, I've managed to train in them for a good 6 to 10 hours, more like 10 to 15 hours probably in this boot. So quite a lot of time in, like, fully broken in, so to speak, for what my foot can do. I'm gonna try to expand that and do some other things, but for me, the overall rating of this boot is really high because I love this boot. I love all the colorways that have come out so far, and I think these are exceptional football boots, and I think you're missing out if you don't consider the Mizuno Alpha made in Japan. And for me, this is an 8.5 out of 10 football boot. It is definitely one of the best speed boots on the market, if not the best speed boot overall. 8.5 out of 10 football boot. These are exceptional. Definitely check them out. If you guys enjoyed those types of reviews, if you guys want more 1 month reviews, let me know what you'd want down in the comment section below. And that's it for this video, guys. Hit that like button if you like this content. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. As always, be awesome, take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.